He's been published in Brides Magazine, In Style, Muna Lucci Magazine, and Inside Weddings. We have award-winning floral designer, event designer, speaker, educator, chief creative of the brand, the Flower Guy Bron, Bron Hansboro.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome
That was
to
a
the
lot. I'm
beautiful
like,
people. I know.
I don't even remember all of that. It's like passing memories. I'm living in today and looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of accomplishments and you've done so much for the floral community.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been an honor.
Um, from one Virginian to another, I'm actually in Norfolk and you're in Richmond.
Oh, lovely. I actually have a designer. One of my lead designers is based in the Norfolk area. So it's a
Oh,
small world.
yeah, it sure is. I always feel like the floral community it's big but very small.
Absolutely.
Everyone knows
Absolutely.
everyone. Um, let's talk a little bit about your community. I know
Yeah.
that you have a flower shop. I know
Yeah.
you created a hashtag Unity Through Community. Let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so to answer your first question about my community, well, the Flower Guy Bron is my flagship business and it is based in Richmond, Virginia. However, we do have the privilege and many opportunities to travel up and down the East Coast and even abroad, providing our bespoke design services for clients and conferences and people alike. So it's a pretty vast community. And what I'm most proud of is how we have leveraged our relationships and our community to not just grow our business, but to be able to show up and add value in every situation that we find ourselves in. And so we have been very mindful that, of course, we create beautiful flowers and beautiful settings for our clients. But more importantly, it's about the journey to get there and how we've made people feel throughout it. So whether that is our direct client, whether that is someone who we're serving indirectly, that might just be maybe a custodian at a venue or another vendor partner. So, community to us is the utmost important tool that we have had to grow our business over the last decade. And thank you for mentioning our store. So, in addition to the Flower Guy Bron, we also have Brooklyn Park Flowers and Gifts, which is our retail arm of our business. And it came about because we feel so strongly about community, and our store is based in a historically Black neighborhood that is quickly gentrifying and redefining itself. And so it was important for us to be able to have a continuing service option for couples who have used us for their weddings. And so we wanted to say, we didn't want to just have one sale. We didn't want to, end the relationship just because our couple said I do. And so we wanted to take the opportunity to extend into lifestyle and to be able to serve our past couples and even our community with flowers that most people may not be able to access through our flagship brand because of its notability, and sometimes the price points can be unachievable. So through Brooklyn Park Flowers and Gifts, we're able to offer easy, economical flowers as well as Pastel Posies by the Flower Guy, which is a far more economical cash and carry event flower brand. So
That's
that was
actually
a earful, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, so that was my next question about Pastel Posies.
Yeah.
You're so in tune with your community and
Mhm.
wanting to, of course, be able to service people with higher budgets, but also ones that have a little bit more of a modest budget. And
Yeah.
you developed
Yes.
after some time thinking about it. Tell
Yeah.
us the process about that.
Oh, well, you know what? I want to tell a little bit of the story of how it came about. Then I'll tell you everything about it. So, when we first got started, I tell everyone that my career, no matter where it is today, started in a 5x5 clear glass vase. That the square cube is where it all started. And those were the couples and the families and the clients that gave me the training ground and taught me how to serve, not just learning how to design bigger and better as the years went on forward, but more importantly, how to make people feel. And so for many years, more than I probably preferred, those 5x5 cube bases, then they grew to a 6x6 cube base, right? So,
Yeah.
that's where it all started. And as our design skills improved and families and couples wanted more from us, and we were very fortunate and excited about the growth, I did not feel 100% whole, knowing that as my business grew, the industry's perception is that a mandatory minimum had to be implemented, and we were in a tier of service that was inaccessible to the masses. And before we reached a pinnacle in growth, I had branded myself somewhat as the people's florist. And all of the people don't have tens of thousands of dollars for flowers. And
Yeah.
when we were seeing floral budgets that were quadrupled some people's wedding budgets, for me, I just had to take a step back and remind myself, what am I doing this for? And I tell everyone when I speak or if I'm doing a keynote, that there's a few things that I ask myself, and I encourage people to ask themselves as well. And one of the first things is, what is your promise? Which means, what are you committed to? What is the transformation that people are going to have in their experience with you? And then what is your commitment? And so what is your promise? And so knowing the answer to these things and me asking myself and being introspective and just mindful, not just of my growth, but
Yeah.
also mindful of the people that I want to spend their hard-earned money with me, I was not okay with a $20,000 minimum or a $15,000 minimum. I didn't want to have a minimum at all. Instead, I wanted to create a vehicle that I could easily move people into when their indicators told me that they were cost sensitive. And so through our process, which leads me to how it works, is we have an inquiry form like many businesses.
Yeah.
And there are certain indicators that the couple will select. They have no clue what it really means to us,
Yeah.
whether it's a note about providing their own votives, or it's a note about their overall price point, or even particular flower selections will indicate to our seasoned designers and myself, okay, well, maybe this is someone who is not going to require all of the time that the Flower Guy Bron service gives. Maybe
Yeah.
this is not a family who will see that value proposition, and we can have a vehicle that we can offer them where they don't even realize that we've taken them on an off ramp, and we've just kind of steered the conversation into what we have learned is a much easier path for them. And so we have an entire presentation that we go into that has all of the different packages that we offer. And what we've tried to do over the years is modify them to align with the trends. We have about 5 packages that we rotate. One is, of course, an all white, hydrangea and roses. Maybe we can add greenery here and there if you'd like. Then we have one that's more, more moody based, and we have one that's more traditional blushes and pinks.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that most people are looking for, but we're able to do these packages all under $3,000. And what that looks like for a family that is having a standard wedding of 100 guests that have an average bridal party of 4 to 5 attendants, that package covers that entire wedding in its entirety. But what we've also learned, and this is the business side of things, is that people who are cost sensitive, we never start off above their investment. If people have told you that they have X amount of dollars to spend, be under that if you possibly can. And this vehicle allows us to be under their ideal target. And then what ends up happening overwhelmingly is as that process is going through, they realize, oh, I need altar flowers. Oh, I have an extra bridesmaid. Oh, I need an extra boutonniere, floral crown, petals for the aisle. And so what starts off as a very easy to digest number definitely creeps overwhelmingly to a number that makes me more comfortable. Even though the price points are set for us to still be profitable, it's always nice when we know that we can upsell and help show people the value of an extra spend. So there's a little bit of education with Pastel Posies, and this is what your dollar buys you. But then if you want to see the price point of something else, you can add it a la carte. So they're able to see what their dollar is buying them, as opposed to our signature packages, which are based on overall budget and expectation. And so even though your budget might be $50,000, perhaps your expectation is $75,000, and that proposal will reflect that.
Yeah.
But that family understands the value proposition and what it takes to achieve their goal. So that's where it came from. It came from from me knowing that everyone was not going to be able to access our product. And living in a small town, I didn't want to isolate myself. There's not
Yeah.
enough space for me to be this huge conglomerate and only serve millionaires. It's just not
Mhm.
a thing.
Do you
And
think
so
it
I,
was,
go
sorry, do
ahead.
you think it was a rite of passage for you,
To
that
me, it was
moment?
liberation. For
Oh,
me,
okay.
it was a moment where I was letting go of the status quo. A lot of my peers at the time when we were introducing Pastel Posies was a time when they were implementing mandatory minimums. And I hate to tell you that many of those friends are no longer in business.
Yeah,
But what
sad.
they did not have was the foresight to realize that yes, past COVID, oh, everything is great, things are rolling, but this is not a real new normal. And to have a
Mhm.
vehicle that's easy to access, that can drive revenue every day, all day, while you're out seeking higher ticket clients and working with venues to seek, big corporate jobs, you can have a regular stream of income serving the everyday person because there's tens more thousands of everyday people than there are everyday millionaires. So it
Yeah.
was it was a realization, and I wanted to be real with myself and stay true to my service to the community.
Yeah, that's incredible. So
Thanks.
I did notice on your Instagram page, it is absolutely flooded with people that you're proud of,
Yeah.
people that you want to lift up,
Hmm.
um, people in your community that are doing well.
Yeah.
The one post was just so beautiful about Black men in your
No.
community
Yes.
that have value and
Hmm.
worth, and that is just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the hashtag unity through community
Yeah.
born, right?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
bringing people together. Do you think that did that happen after George Floyd?
Absolutely. Right after it. There
Hmm.
was just we were just in a place where I was so uncomfortable. There were people that I was doing business with prior to that I felt comfortable with. And then there were businesses that I felt comfortable doing business with. But I think the world turned then,
Yeah.
and I no longer felt comfortable in the spaces that I previously felt comfortable. I was second guessing relationships and digging deep into past experiences and adding value that might have been misplaced. But I felt like we were just all in a world of turmoil, and personally I know I was as a Black man. And so unity through community was an attempt, and I believe it was a successful attempt at bringing event professionals together. And I'll start with the floral piece of it. There's so many different styles. There are so many different methods to achieving a floral piece. And depending on what your skill set is, depending on what your comfort level is, and depending on the scope and scale and needs of the clients and that job, all factors that have been blurred, in my opinion, and particularly at that point when we were all fighting about foam or no foam. And it really disgusts me. I understand environmental impact, but I also understand that people have to grow and that being confident with your designs looks different for different designers. I might be comfortable with chicken wire and tape. I might be comfortable with designing in my hand and just dropping it in a vase because I'm experienced. But for the person who's picking up flowers for the first time and might have an image of something that I created as inspiration, will not be able to create those looks without foam. And so for me, I wanted to give myself permission to use whatever mechanics work the best for the job. And I also wanted to give the green light and the freedom to new designers to feel comfortable and not persecuted as they were perfecting their craft. And so unity through community to me started with staying in your own base, and then just like trying to bridge a gap between an industry that did not need to be separated anymore. And I
Mhm.
almost feel like personally, after George Floyd and the division in our country became even more paramount, that argument of foam or no foam became even stronger. And
Yeah.
to me, it became a black and white thing personally. It's just how I interpreted it. And it just we needed unity. And so I was literally sitting on my porch one day. We didn't have much to do. And I was just like, you know what? It just jumped in my head. And I texted a girlfriend, an excellent speaker by the name of Terica, and then partnered with another girlfriend, Cece Todd, and out of Birmingham, Alabama. And we just started like hashtagging and hashtagging and hashtagging and hashtagging. And the next thing you know, we had quite the momentum. And I think it was just the not the rude awakening, but the gentle nod, and a reminder that, hey, we're being impacted by COVID. We're being impacted by everything that you could imagine. The last thing we need as an industry is to be divided by anything.
Mhm.
I think we were all suffering with lack of capital, with lack of clients, too much time on our hands, imposter syndrome. And then here we are finding ourselves drawing more lines in the sand. And so unity through community was simply about
Yeah.
blurring that line and bringing us all together.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do you think that we're better off?
Hmm.
Do
It's
you
an
think?
interesting question. I think that just like anything, there's ebb and flow, there are highs and lows.
Yeah.
I think that coming out of some of those times, we came out with our hands up and we were ready to work again, and everybody was happy. And then I will say that I personally, about a year after we recovered from COVID here in Virginia and we're working regularly again, I started to see some same old behaviors, and falling back into our comfort zone. So, do I think that things have changed? Yes. Do I
Mhm.
think that things have changed so radically where that we shouldn't still be very vigilant and aware of our differences and how our differences might show up in the landscape of our industry? No, I don't think that we're there. I
Mhm.
From personal experience, being here in Richmond, being the former capital of the Confederacy, I'd be a fool to not acknowledge things that don't just go away because slavery is no longer here.
Mhm.
Some of these sentiments are still there, which is put me in a position at times to have to create my own opportunities, which is a little harder than being able to go to, what should be a vendor partner and a peer in the industry. It would be easier if those were opportunities that were always afforded to me. But fortunately, we've been able to create the opportunities and have had seamless service. So things are better. However, not perfect.
We have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, there's so many things that, I think that just, reaching out to your community leaders and,
Mm-hmm.
constantly pushing, your place in spaces that are uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of bravery, but I think that we don't back down. We just
That's
can't
right.
back down. That's it.
Get on the train,
Get on
or
the
get
train.
or there's no other option.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be unity, I believe. Want to switch a little bit to
Sure.
your
Yeah.
personal voyage or
Yes.
adventure. I noticed probably the end of 2020, you were losing weight.
Yeah. And now you'll
Um,
notice I'm gaining it back. But like I said, there's highs and lows, honey. You did it once, you can do it again.
I think you look fabulous.
Thank you.
But what I did find interesting, and probably because I'm a woman, and I maybe we're a little more vain, but I noticed you still post pictures of your old self. You
Mm-hmm.
still reference those things, unapologetically.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
Let
that
me
is
tell you
in
something.
my
That was
mind.
that was a journey that COVID gave me the opportunity and the time to embark on. I had more time and sitting there knowing that I had every comorbid that the people dying from COVID had, whether it was high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, all of those
Yeah.
comorbids at that time I had. Unfortunately, with the time that I had, I was able to cook every day. I was able to walk every day, and we hired a trainer to come to our house. I mean, it was a little privilege of a period. However, I totally utilized it to dial into myself and to look the way I wanted to look and to feel the way I wanted to feel. And it also was something that benefited me from a business perspective because I did it publicly. I mean, I wasn't posting regularly, but people
Right.
definitely saw a great transformation. And I was able, through that period, to share my notes of what my eating plan was, what my workout plan was. There are hundreds of people in our industry right now that have bronze weight loss plan, and
Oh,
hopefully they'll implement it. I need to look at it again. But to me, it was, I've been a pioneer in my market. I've been able to do some great things. And one of the great things that I had not been able to do was focus on my health. And
yeah.
so that was something that I also wanted to show people that we can do it. You can do it. So
Yeah.
that was wonderful. I also probably need to get some headshots. I'll tell you a quick quip. I was traveling to speak recently, and I send this, a Dropbox of promotional things that they can use. Well, of course, everyone picks the prettiest, skinniest pictures of me to promote on their websites. So when I saw their promotions going out, I'm like, oh God, I got to go on stage and explain something, right? Maybe maybe it's steroids, right? I'm on steroids, guys. I'm blowing up. So I made the joke. I said, hey guys, I hate to be a catfish. I just know that Instagram
Ah,
post was just so different than what this is. So I make a joke of it, but I laugh at Oprah and Luther Vandross and Rosie O'Donnell and any celebrity or profile person that has a journey with food and relationship
yeah.
with food and what it just is what it is. And I feel like it's one of those thorns in my flesh I will always have to fight. And that's okay. It just gives me something to be mindful of and just something to be thankful for when I am able to get back to where I want to be.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm on
Hey,
that train.
okay.
Um, so I've watched a lot of videos of you, and
Oh,
you are a mentor for so many.
thank you.
Who do you find as a mentor? Who do you really just admire and cherish?
Mm. I am glad you asked me that. So there are two people that stand out. Well, there's more than two. I'm going to mention one in particular because it's where it all started. So when I was an undergrad at Howard University in DC, I had the opportunity I wouldn't even call it freelance. I would call it sweep the floors, man the trash cans for
Mm.
a designer named Sidra Foreman in DC. And so Sidra opened her business to me and exposed me to luxury flowers in a way that I had never experienced. I was very familiar with he loves me not, really tight bullet roses. I was very
Yeah.
familiar with, oh, I messed up, let me get her roses. That wasn't my storyline, but I was familiar with how flowers on a day to day were exchanged, but I had absolutely no clue what fresh flowers and event design looked like at the scale that she was doing it at over 15, almost 20 years ago. And the moment that she became not just a champion, but a mentor and someone that I looked up to was when I really got serious about opening the Flower Guy Bron. When I was working with her, I was geared to be a principal, an administrator, a superintendent. There was no
Mhm.
way in hell I ever thought I'd be an event professional, at least not full time. And I had no clue how to price. And Sidra literally did an entire workshop with just me on how to appropriately price flowers. And that was the moment where I went from a hobbyist to actually creating real revenue. And
That's
so,
wonderful.
because of that, Sidra Foreman is one of those people I look up to. She's not just a florist, she's a lifestyle brand. She's a wellness coach, she's a renowned chef, and an amazing organic florist. So, if you look at our work, doesn't even look anything alike. We couldn't be any different in our design approach, but holistically, she is the mother, if you will. So Sidra is definitely one of those people. I also am going to reference my husband, Lloyd. And so, why that's important is because I am a true creative, but the business that we have created is more so his brainchild. I am ADHD to the fullest. I will have a great idea and have no idea how to get it off the ground. But he is the consistent business force in the corporate brain that allows us to make decisions and to conduct business like a much larger business than we are, which allows us to attract bigger clients, which allows us to be in different spaces. So like when we got booked our first, super six-figure wedding, it wasn't it was my brain who designed it and who recipeed it and who conceptualized it. But how many refrigerated box trucks, how much labor, how to pay these people, how to get the craft services there to feed 50 team members, what the timelines look like internally, how many project managers do we need? So he is that person. So between
Yeah.
Sidra Foreman and Lloyd Ely, they have been two of the biggest driving forces and people that I have to take a step back and say, what did I do to deserve these relationships?
That's beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
But I also, do you mind if I jump in and share one more name? So there's another name that also has revolutionized my business, and I feel like I'd be remiss not to mention Sarah Campbell. Sarah Campbell of Intrigue Designs took me under her wing several years ago, and what she exposed me to is scale. And I have taken that lesson in scale and have been able to apply it to every project that I have done. And she's also helped me vastly with my stage presence and just being always charismatic in front of the
Oh,
camera. So Sarah's a definite one to keep in the books as well. So those are my three.
love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on and
Oh, my
talking about
pleasure.
me for, getting to know you a little better. I know through some of your videos, you have broken out into song on occasion. And I wanted to know if you would mind ending our conversation with a little bit of Bron.
You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for and everything I need. Val, you are so beautiful to me. Thank you.